Hi, this is Kim from Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and today I'm going to show you how to make a mixed media knotted bead. There is a bead called a knotted bead. This is not that. I wasn't exactly sure what to call this, so that's why I called it a mixed media bead. So a mixed media knotted bead. So it's got cord threaded onto a bead, and then it's knotted, and then there's a whole bunch of other knots here as well. And then I have a couple examples here of a smaller version, just kind of more plain. And I am actually working on a necklace that is inspired by an art journal page that I recently made, and I actually shared it over on my blog at KimberlyKoehler.com. I'll grab it for you here. So this is an art journal page I have in my art journal. The theme is nature, and I actually shared this specific art journal page and how I made it on my blog over at KimberlyKoehler.com. So if you want to see that, you can go check it out. But you'll see in this art journal page, there's green and yellow and lots of blue. So there's blue and the dragonfly's wings, and some black and blue in the paint, blue and green, and then a lot of tan. And so I wanted to take this page and use it as inspiration for a necklace. So this is just one component of the necklace, this knotted bead. But that's where I kind of got the colors from. There's the green bead and blue beads, and I have some more green beads and actually some little dragonfly charms I made. So I'm going to actually go into more detail on using a journal page for inspiration, and when I complete this necklace, I'm going to share it on my blog. So look out for that in the next week or so, and so you'll see that all completed. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to make this specific knotted bead because I'm really inspired by it and loving how it looks and how it turned out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This is what you'll need to make a mixed media knotted bead. You need beads that a cord will fit through. So that means the bore hole does need to be pretty big. So I have a couple different options in my collection. There's probably even more, but I was looking for blue and greens. And I actually got all these beads from Happy Mango Bead. This is a recycled glass bead, and I can't really remember what these beads are, but they're all from Happy Mango Beads. If you go in person to a store, it's really easy to tell. You can just kind of look and see how big the holes are. And then you'll need some cord. And I'm actually using a waxed cotton cord. You could use leather or a faux leather. And I'm using a 2mm cord, which is kind of thick, but you can definitely get thinner. This just happens to be what I have on hand, and so this is what I'm using, and I do kind of like the thickness of it, but it can be hard to get this cord through the beads. But I have a little trick that I'm going to show you in just a second. And then you'll just need anything else you might want to add. You might want to have some little bead dangles, so any beads you might want to add that the hole isn't big enough to go through the cord, you can make it into a bead dangle, and then we can just attach it kind of after the fact with jump rings. And you can add charms. I have some little dragonfly beads that I also made into bead dangles. So anything that goes along with the theme of your necklace, you can add into this. So the first thing we're going to do is put the cord through the bead. And you want to just allow yourself plenty, whoops, my bead's rolling away, plenty of extra length on your cord, just so you can make all your knots that you want to make and have room to play with. You can trim it off later. This cord isn't very expensive. And you're actually going to want 2 pieces. So I'm cutting 2. Alright, so we're going to start with 1. Now, what happens when you try to kind of push this cord through a bead, and sometimes it will just work if your cord's small enough and the hole is big enough, but in my case it's a very close, tight fit. So there's a couple things you can do. One is just sort of trim off the edge sideways so it kind of comes to a point, and then it's easier. But in this case, I tried that and it didn't work. The cord just kind of started pulling apart when I was trying to get it into the hole. So my solution that I did is to use some tape. So we're going to just pull off a tiny little piece of tape. And you can't, in my case, I could not make my tape too thick, so I just went around one time and just kind of push it in really far, so you don't add too much bulk to the cord itself, because then it might be too big to stick through your bead. And then what I did was I just kind of trimmed off the top of the tape as well. And we're just going to cut this tape part off after we get this threaded. And then it kind of goes through much easier. Famous last words. Alright. So we got it through. Alright, now you'll see there's several different kind of cords coming off of my knotted bead here. So how I did that, because I knew another cord was not going to fit through, is I just tied on another piece. So now that we have this through, let's pull it into the middle here. And we're just doing an overhanded knot. I'm just doing it kind of loosely, and now I'm going to add this other cord in, going the opposite way, and tying overhand knot, and then you can just pull it tightly. And then we have all these different cords coming down. Alright, so now let me show you something, because actually I'm realizing my cords are a little bit too small, because now we're just going to take the whole kit and caboodle, pull everything together, so we have this kind of big knot right here, but we're going to just do a knot with everything together. And I find that very hard to work with short cords, so mine are too short in this case for me to be able to do that. So I'm just going to start over, to be honest with you. Sometimes this happens, and it can be frustrating, but that's how it is. Okay, I'm back. So this time I cut my cords about 12 inches each, and I just knotted them exactly how I just showed you. So we have the knot around with the cord that went through the bead, and then a knot that I knotted onto that cord. And so now we're just going to take this whole kit and caboodle, and I'm trying to just line up the knots, the two knots I already have, so they're together. And so now we're going to just make a large knot with all of the cords together right underneath this bead here. So I'm just taking, and this is why I needed more room, because this is hard to do if your cords are too short. So I'm just making a knot, and I'm trying to keep it up as close to the bead as I can. So that's why I'm kind of just slowly pulling it up. And pulling it tightly. Alright, straighten it all out, and then you can kind of look and see which side you want to use as the front. So I did that on this one, and I added more charms into the knot itself. You can tell this is the back because I didn't add so many charms. Alright, and that's the basic idea. So, I mean, really, this is kind of cool the way it is. You would probably trim it up. But then you can add more beads. So I have some more beads with large holes. So I'm just going to start adding them. So what I like to do is you can do a knot first. I'm just working with one individual cord now. So I'm doing a knot. And then adding a bead, and then adding a knot. And then you just kind of, if you just pull slow, you can just pull out the middle of the knot, so you can keep it kind of close to that bead. And then you just do that for all the strands, and you can, if you want to add, in this one I have a couple strands with just one bead on, this one has 3, this one has 2. So you just sort of do that however you like. And if you have to do the tape trick to get your beads through again, then you can just do that, the tape trick I showed you before. So I'm going to add a knot first. I like adding a knot, and then adding a bead, and then adding a knot, or maybe you could do a couple knots. It kind of gives this whole thing like a nice organic look. Maybe I'll do 2 knots on this one. And you can decide how long you want it to be. Couple knots there. Keep trying to add a bead. I'm going to knot it first. And so you get the general idea. I have all the strands beaded and knotted to how I like it. And if you find that your knots aren't close enough, you can usually, if your cord is big enough, just kind of loosen it up and try again. Alright, and so then you just trim off the excess cord. And that is the basic idea. Now, I mentioned adding charms and that sort of thing, so I'm going to show you here on this one. I just opened jump rings and added my bead dangles, and I have a tutorial or a few on how to make bead dangles on my YouTube channel, so you can check them out. But you can just open jump rings, add bead dangles kind of near the knots, and up here I just slid it in. So on the one we just made, I might just, you know, slide in a jump ring and add a bead dangle if you want to do it that way. And I also mentioned I have made these kind of smaller ones. In this case, I just kind of did a square knot, and I didn't do that third knot. So I just tied it twice, and I didn't do the whole thing. Alright, so let me show you how you would use this now. This is just one part of the design of my necklace, but I'm just going to use this as I would any bead. So I'm just going to slide some beading wire in there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add this other one. So that's kind of the beginning, and then I would, you know, just add beads like I normally would, or whatever my design's going to be. So you just use it just like a normal bead, just by sliding it on your beading wire and then continuing to bead however you want your design to be. So that is the mixed media knotted bead. I hope you find it helpful. I hope that you can be creative and come up with your own ideas and add whatever you want to your mixed media knotted bead. I would love to see if you make them. If you want to come over to KimberlyKoehler.com, there will be a blog post for this, and in my comments it says reply. You can actually upload photos there if you want. So come on over there and show me what you're making.